Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We have moved on up into System 11. Check this out. A customer brought us this game and we need to fix it for him. So we're going to see if we can repair it and get it working well for him, and we'll film a couple videos while we're doing it with his permission. Basically, a gentleman that's one of our watchers came in and brought me his MPU board out of his F-14 Tomcat pinball machine. And he's having some issues with it, and he wanted me to check it out. Well, I forgot about it for about a month. I told him it'd be a while, so it wasn't like I completely did the guy wrong. But for about a month, I forgot about it. And then he came back in just to check on it, and I was like, oh, I forgot about it, but it's in the back. So we're going to fix it up, but it's a kind of, there's a thing going on with the switches and the displays, and so it's kind of I don't know how I'm going to test it after I finish it, because I don't have a System 11 game in here at the moment. So he called us back a couple weeks later, and he's like, hey, what do you think I just bring you the machine, and you can just fix it and put it into the machine? And he's not in a big hurry or anything, so it's not the timeline thing. I think he just decided that he wanted to just have us kind of look over how it works in the game after we fix it. So, yeah. So about a week ago, he brought us the machine, and we are now getting it done. So we've had it, I think, about 2 months or so, something like that, the board, and we've had the machine about a week and a half. So it's not the end of the world, and like I said, he's not in a big hurry. But we're going to see if we can fix it up for him, and then we're going to play test it and see what's going on. So whenever he brought it in, I was really surprised that this very well may be the nicest F-14 Tomcat I've seen. I think this is the only game he has. But just in my opinion, this thing is about as nice as they get. It's obviously had a lot of work done to it, but it's all kind of tasteful and well done. Hey, and it has LEDs for the people that say I don't like LEDs. We've got one here now that does. There are minor little things going on with it. I mean, there's like a little bit of areas where there's like a little bit of paint missing or something, but all in all, this is about as nice as you can get. I mean, it's in stunningly good shape. And it was an Aladdin's Castle game. So some people may have not had those, but Bally had an Aladdin's Castle arcade chain. And apparently this game was in an Aladdin's Castle at some point. How it didn't get the crap beat out of it from being operated, I do not know. Or maybe it's been fixed up, but look at things like this. So there's just a sticker right on the front of it. That's factory. They would do stuff like that. So my point being, this thing hasn't been re-stenciled, or that sticker wouldn't be there. It's just in really nice original shape. Look at the back box. See how it's got like a little bit of wear down here? This is all original, but in really good shape. A little bit of paint on the side. Little chip on the back. This is all stuff that would be common to find on a game, but with the exception of that, in very nice shape. So I think the lockdown bar is brand new. It looks like it to me. Got the nice printed instruction cards. The apron looks pretty much new. The playfield is in very good shape, and it's had a like one of those, it's like a, I don't know if it's Mylar, but there's like a playfield protector has been placed on the playfield over all of the artwork. See the edge of it around the post there? And so that has kept this playfield in very nice shape. It has a nice gloss to it because of that, and it probably, usually whenever you put those on, it makes it play faster. So it probably plays super fast, which we'll figure out whenever we play it. Let me get the phone. All right, that was a gentleman calling about getting one of his games worked on. Robotron! Might get one in, and we'll have to film some videos of that if it happens. Okay, so, I don't know how much... I've never even played an F-14, so I don't know how much of this is original. That kind of looks like it was added. Looks like it should have been there, though, so that's a very tasteful mod, if it is added. And then they have these cards here on the sides. Those are probably original, but these are probably replacements. That's just my guess. But man, they're in perfect shape. Look great. Or maybe, I don't know. We'll have to look it up. Maybe that's some kind of mod too. But man, they look fantastic. So everything looks good. It's even got a new piece of glass in it. So we don't have to really do any work on the playfield or anything like that. It also has new displays. But I think he may have been having a problem with that too. So we're going to have to test that. Now let's look in the back box. So, you know, we like starting at the wall, working our way up. So power comes in and runs up here to this power supply, which is actually in very good shape. It's already been rebuilt. The capacitors have been replaced. All of the connectors look good. Sometimes, you know, this one will get burnt up, but it's not. Looks nice, and that's not even a new connector. That's the original one. So this thing is just not seeing all that much work, you know. And then these are the general illumination fuses. And then he has done the mod where you add the fuses for the bridge rectifiers. So that's all done. Looks good. The MPU is out of the game. I have it in the back. This is a little flasher relay, which is going to, I'm sure, make the probably make the lights work or something. And then this is the soundboard. Usually I don't give you too much trouble. So that MPU has the problems, and it was a problem with the switch matrix, where he said that he was having like some phantom switch closures. So we're going to check that out and see if we can figure out what's going on. He did a little bit of a repair to it, so we're going to see if there's an issue with that or what the deal is. But we're going to try to track it down for him and get it back up and doing its thing. So this is what it goes in. In my opinion, very nice shape machine. Thing looks great. The playfield's unbelievable, really. There's some wear and stuff on it, though. I mean, it is an original machine. If you look, you can see a little wear. But all in all, in very nice shape. And the few mods that they may have done are done very tastefully. So I like it. It's got the cool LED displays, too. So what a heck of a way to start on a repair. Usually we get them in and they're all destroyed, but this one's in very nice shape anyway. So hopefully it won't be too hard to figure out what's going on with the switch matrix. So let's go look at his MPU board, and we'll see if we can figure it out. So this is his board. It's nice and clean, looks good. I'll show you what he was working on and what he was messing with. So he said that he started having kind of some switch problems, phantom switch closures. So on these boards, there are these little resistor packs like this. So there's several up here. All right. And here are some new ones. So basically, these packs act up sometimes, and will fail, and things can fry them. So stray voltage or something on the playfield can actually burn these up. So what these are this end down here with a dot on it is kind of like ground, and then these other ones are, in this particular case, 4.7K ohms. So the resistance from, it's like 9 resistors. Is this a 10 pin? Yeah. So this is ground, and then from between here and the next pin is 4.7K resistance, and between pin 1 and pin 3 is 4.7K resistance. 1 and 4, 4.7K resistance. It's literally just a bunch of resistors that have their bottom, you know, so there is a wire going from there up into a resistor that's 1K, and then the other part of the other line of the resistor, the other leg, goes all the way back here and connects to this. So this, I guess, along the top probably runs inside there where they're all connected. Okay, so some of these are those type, and then some of them are discrete. And so the discrete ones are, this particular one is 1K, so 1,000 ohms. So between the first and the second pin is a resistor that has 1,000 ohms resistance. Between the third and the fourth pin is a resistor that has 1,000 ohms resistance, and it has absolutely no connection to the first two pins. So it's just 1,000 ohm resistor, 1,000 ohm resistor, 1,000 ohm resistor, 1,000 ohm resistor. So you can replace these, and sometimes there's an issue where you get the wrong kind, like you put the discrete ones where they're separate in when it needs the bus one where they all have the same pin, that same leg. So that could be the issue. I don't think it is, but that could be the issue. We're going to check all that out. We're going to test everything, figure it all out. But the other thing is that some of these, the ones that are labeled SRC, the R stands for resistor and the C stands for capacitor. So you see this one is just SR14. So this one is only resistors. But this one also has capacitors. So just to complicate matters, they don't make those anymore. So that's what he was aiming to replace, is this one right here, because this is where the switches connect. And the one with the capacitors built in is often a problem, because the capacitors can get screwed up and there's no way to test it. So here's the back of the board. It's very clean. There's one chip that has been replaced up here, or something. And there's a few where you can see where the gentleman replaced the resistor packs. So we're going to look into that. See how the last pin is not connected? That's actually how you're supposed to do it. So I haven't found anything wrong yet. But we're going to test everything and make sure. So you can't get that part anymore, like I was saying a second ago, but basically the original design had a resistor pack here and then capacitors. So the capacitors are actually installed. And if you look on the schematics, it shows those installed, and then they're kind of ghosted out, like those have been taken away, and now they're using this new high-fangled resistor and capacitor package that has a resistor and a capacitor in the same thing. Pin 1 connects to the 5 volt, and pin 10 connects to the ground. So on this particular one, it does appear that he's got pin 10 disconnected. So there should be a 4.7K, a 1K on this particular one. There should be a 1K resistor between this first pin and the second pin, the first pin of the third pin, first pin of the fourth pin, first pin of the fifth pin, blah, 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 blah. And it's tied to 5K. So the pin 1 is 5K. Pin 10 is clearly ground, and that is to pin 10 because this is the ground. So pin 10, there originally was a capacitor on all of those legs tied to ground, tied to the 10th pin. So it had a bus of resistors and a bus of capacitors in it. But since they installed the capacitors on the board, even though the schematics say that they're gone, you don't need the capacitor in this little piece, which is good because you can't get it. On the other ones, the ones up here are for the display. So he said that after he was done, not only was his switches messed up, but now his displays are messed up because he had replaced those three. Now, before you say, oh, he should have left it alone, apparently this is a pretty common problem, and this happens on these a lot. Those capacitors in the resistor networks get messed up. So I don't blame him for swapping them out, especially since he was having problems. I think what happened was he thought that this was probably likely the issue, and so he swapped this one, and then while he had some that he had ordered, he went ahead and swapped a couple of the other ones too before they had a problem. Now, these are from Great Plains Electronics. That's where we get a lot of our stuff too. That's a really cool website if you've never been there. They do a lot of a little bit older electronic stuff that if you're working on something from the 90s like this, or this is actually from the 80s, if you're working on something from the 80s and 90s, Great Plains Electronics kind of goes out of their way to carry stuff for pinball machines and stuff like that. So we're going to see what we can see. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to get my multimeter. I have written down what they are supposed to be. So SRC 1 and 3, and by the way, this is not, like I said a second ago, this is not to be confused with SR 1 and 3, which is a different thing. Or I don't know if there's a 1 and 3, but yeah, there is. So here's SR3, but it's just a resistor pack. There's no capacitor. These are SCR, so it's SIP, single inline package resistor capacitor 6, is what I suppose that stands for. So I've written them down. 1 and 3, the resistor part. So on all of them, they should all be bus SIPs. And pin 1 should always connect to 5, and pin 10 should be cut off because it originally connected to ground. So there's 8 lines. So there was 1 pin to connect to 5, 8 actual lines that the resistors and capacitors connected to, and then the 10th pin would have connected to ground. So what you can just use a standard bus 10 position resistor network, and don't use the last pin, because if you did, you would be connecting 5 volt to ground with a 1000 ohm resistor. We don't want to do that. So something's wrong somewhere. I'm hoping that he put the wrong value in. That would be the easiest to fix. So I've written them down. 4.7K, SRC 1 and 3 is for the widget board, which I believe is, I don't even know what the widget board would do on this. Maybe it does the sound or something. SRC 2, or the widget board on like an older Williams video game, was how they did their inputs and things. So it actually was the switches. SRC 2, 4, and 5 are the displays. 6 is the switch matrix. That's the one we've been looking at. 7 and 8 are the score displays. And 9 is also the score displays. So he did 1, 4, 5, and 6. So the widget board, whatever that is, 4 and 5 displays, 6 the matrix. There's also one little spot that he didn't get a good connection on, so he had to put a little jumper cap leg, but that's fine. So I'm going to start checking them, and I'll see if they are what they are supposed to be. You can check them in circuit. You might get weird values, but essentially you should never get a higher resistance than what it's supposed to be. So like if it's a 1K resistor, you can check it in circuit as long as sometimes if there's big capacitors near it, you can't do it, but you can check it in circuit and see if there's 1K resistance in circuit. If you end up getting like less than that, like you say you get 300 ohms instead of 1,000 ohms, the resistor still may be good, because resistors usually don't short, they open. So if you're supposed to have 1,000 ohms between, pin 1 and pin 2, and you check it, and there's 10,000 ohms resistance between 1 and 2. Well, that resistor must be messed up, because you should be able to connect with 1,000 ohms resistance. If it's much higher, then the resistor must be open or out of spec, Now, if you check 1 and 2 and there's only 30 ohms resistance, but the resistor's 1,000 ohms resistance, you don't really know if that resistor is good or bad. Because it could be that, yes, it's 1,000 ohm resistor, but in the circuit, there's another resistor in circuit that connects it where there's only an actual 30 ohms resistance between the two because of something else that's connected to it. But let's say you got 8 of them. This one's 30, 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 and this one's 30. Well, hell, are all 9 of them shorted? Probably not. It's probably right, but if you're looking for problems and you can't find any, you might want to pull the thing out and check it out of circuit. That's the only way to know for sure, but you can make an educated guess if it's a resistor network and this one's 1,000, this one's 1,000, this one's 1,000, this one's 1,000, and this one's 8,000. It's probably screwed up. Something ain't right. So I'm going to turn it over and start testing them, and then whenever I find something off, I will let you know. All right, so I found our first issue. I've got my light down there underneath it. Sometimes if you do that, it helps you see the traces really well, right? So you can see that what's going on is this resistor network, this pin 1, like we said, is tied to 5. This one originally would have been tied to ground, but we're getting rid of that. So right now, that pin is not tied to anything, which is good. And then this pin 9 here comes down to this pin, and pin 8 comes down to this pin. And you can see on 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, on pin 6, he's put that little jumper. And that is good. It is actually connected. But on pin 4 there, it's got the same issue. See how the trace has been broken whenever the resistor network was removed, and so it's no longer connected. So whenever he came in, he was showing me that. Well, he was showing me the one jumper. I don't think he found the other one. He was showing me the one jumper, and he was real embarrassed about it. I hacked it up. Nah, you didn't hack it up. You're new at soldering, and you did the best you could, and you had some issues. Believe me, I have pulled many, many traces. I've done a hell of a lot worse than this. So don't get thinking that you ruined something. You didn't. It would have been, if it was cleaner, that would have been great, but it wasn't. You about had it though. So if that line is missing, and it is, it's not connected to the right pin. It's not connected to any pin. If that line's missing, what that means is this is for the switches. So there's a switch matrix. So the way the matrix works is there is a row that connects to like 8 switches, and there's a column that connects to like 8 switches. So this is either the column or the rows. I think it's the rows, but so there's like 8 switches that aren't connected to the board. So none of those switches are going to work. We could actually figure out, I'll go look in the schematic, maybe we can figure out which one it is. But the way I'm going to fix it, he put a jumper on the front there, but if you look at the back of the board, it's much easier to just put a jumper on the back. You're literally going from there to here. And it doesn't have to be as pretty. Nobody will even see it. Once you mount this in the cabinet, the only person that will see it is the next person that works on it. So, and that's the only person that needs to see it. Right? So I'm going to carefully trace that down. We'll put a little jumper on it, and that will fix that. I'll probably also put a jumper on the other one just to make sure that it's making good contact. And then we'll move on and look at the ones up there and see what's going on with that, because he said he saw display issues too. So that's first. Okay, so I'm looking at the manual. This is the switch matrix. So this is the one that's completely disconnected now. One of the switches is not used, second not used, third not used. So the ramp entry switch wouldn't work. The right eject switch wouldn't work. The left center eject switch wouldn't work. The right center eject wouldn't work, and the ball popper wouldn't work. So all of those would have been disabled by that. But we're going to fix it. So now they'll be enabled. What do you think? I can imagine what you think. Apparently these are called bodge wires now. I always called them jumpers, but this is my bodge wire. So you can use wire wrapping, right? I use this sometimes, depending on what we're doing. So this stuff is insulated, and just basically the end, whenever you cut it, is exposed, and you can solder to it. And if you heat it up enough, the whole end, the insulation comes off of it, so you can make a better connection. I don't like using it just because it's so thin. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's good enough, but I like a big old thick wire on there if I can get it on there. So this is insulated. The problem with this though is that it's stranded, so there's multiple strands in there. So so what I do is I cut it to length. This one's a little long, but it'll be all right. I cut it to length and then I tin the ends so that it's basically makes the end solid, so that you don't have, because you don't want stray strands that'll touch the pin next to it, for instance. You want to make sure every strand is soldered to what you're soldering it to. And since we're jumping over this ground plane, now it's got a mask on the foil or on the copper, but yeah, I just like it being insulated so that like when it lays over this, it's not a problem. It's not going to short to anything. It's insulated. So that's how I like doing it. Somebody can take it off and put a skinnier one on there if they'd like, but you know, why hide what you're doing if it's behind the board? You want people to, like, somebody who's doing repair will find that, and it's obvious, and there it is. You know, I think it looks just fine. So what you could do, now it's pretty tight here, but I was able to solder it well to just the one pin, and there's no connection between the two next to it. But what you could do in a situation like this is run your jumper from here, where you have a bigger spacing, instead of running it to there, right? See that trace runs up to here, and you've got more spacing up there. So you could run a jumper from there to there, and it would accomplish the same thing. So it just depends on how you want to do it. I was able to slide it in there and not touch the other one, so everything's cool. And then we may put the other jumper on too. I'm going to look at it a little closer and see how well he was able to get that soldered on the front. But that will fix that. Oh, another thing. Whenever you do something like that, you're making a jumper or a bodge wire, you want to test through the joint. So what do I mean by that? You don't want to test continuity from there to there, because all you're testing is the wire. You're actually touching the wire. So that won't really tell you crap. You want to know if the connection's good. So what really is going on is the third pin here, a wire will connect there, connect through your jumper to the resistor, and then onto the trace up to this transistor. So what you really want to do is test the continuity between here and this pin down here. And if those two are connected, there's very little resistance, well then you know your jumper's doing what it's supposed to do. So whenever you test your hacks and repairs and stuff, always test it like through the joint, just to make sure everything's copacetic. Alright, so I'm going to start working on the ones that were the displays and see if I can find something wrong up there. Hopefully I can. Okay, folks, so I have discovered the issue. So here's the one that we replaced. I mean, that he replaced, that we fixed the little wire on. Okay, that is a SRC6. The resistor part is 1K. Okay, so we fixed that one. It's done. No más problema, like Jaime would say. Okay. So now we are on SRC 1, 4, and 5, which he has replaced. I'm curious why he didn't do 3 and 2. He must have thought those were... I don't know why he wanted to do that. But he didn't replace those two. So it's not like they've been removed and put back. He didn't mess with those two. So he did these 3. But when you in fact look at them, we're going to read the part number. $10X-1-102LF. 10X-1-102LF, which is the same as the part up there. It's the exact same part. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, and then he sent me these bags with it when he came by. So let's look at these. So these are 560 bus bust 10 pin. So let me look at the part number on these. So there are 10K, no, 10X1, 561. And they all appear to be that. Okay, so it says quantity 5, there are still 5 in the back. Okay, this says 1K times 4 discrete 8 pins. So the deal with these is, these are the discrete ones. So the first 2 are a resistor, the next 2 are a resistor. And there's 5 of those. It's an 8 pin package. Those appear to be all still in there. Okay. 3.3K bust 10 pin. All right. So 10X, 332, 332, 332. Okay, there's 5 of those. They're all still in the package. Okay. Now this says 4.7K bust 10 pin. And that's what's in there. 10X1472, which is the code for 4.7K. But there's 4 of them missing. Okay. And then I've got this 1K bust 10 pin, which is what we need there. All right. So that's what that is. That's one of them. 2, 3, 4, 5. So, oh look, quantity 10. Bunch of these missing. Okay. And then we have this. We just saved Great Plains Electronics. I wasn't going to accuse him of nothing because I have never heard of that guy making a mistake. Right? That's what I said. We're trying to figure it out. 4.7K bust 10 pin, 5 of them. But there's only 1. So there's 4 of these missing that are the 4.7K. And I didn't get enough into it where I could have asked the customer that whenever he dropped it off. He did this himself. So it looks like what happened was he put these in, because these are supposed to be 4.7K, but they're 1K. He put these in, and then he might have messed up and put them backwards or something. I think he said something like that, or he was curious if he put them backwards. So he must have put these in and then figured out they were the wrong ones and then went back and put the 1K ones in, which is correct for that one, but not for these ones. So I looked in the manual and confirmed. The only one that is 1K is SRC6. All of the other ones are 4.7K, every one of them. I looked all through the schematics. I checked on penrepair.com, Clay, he has a list, 4.7K, and I checked on PinWiki, they talk about it, 4.7K. So these 3 are just the wrong value. They may be in wrong too, but you know, they're the wrong value. So I'm going to pull those out and replace them. But what am I going to replace them with? I've only got 1. Well, I just happen to keep a bunch of these myself, you know. And so not only do I have them, but I've got the cool 9-pin ones. So I don't even have to cut the 10th pin off. They'll slide right in. And they won't go in the 10th pin, the hole, because it doesn't have the 10th pin. Top that, brother. All right, so I'm going to take those 3 out, and I'm going to put these in. And then we're going to test it and make sure everything's making good connection and everything. And hopefully that'll fix it. Now, it may not fix it because he was thinking that these were his problems, but what if there was another problem, right? What if those had nothing to do with it? So there may still be like a diode on the playfield that's shorted or something. Hopefully nothing's wrong with his displays. I don't think there will be. I think these are just the wrong value. Once we get those right, the display should look fine. So we're going to have to extensively test it. And you know there's only one way to do that. We're going to have to play the hell out of it. Okay, so I got them out, but unfortunately there's a couple little spots. So this is pin 1 here. So pin 1 is fine, pin 2 is fine, pin 3, see how the trace doesn't connect to the top side of the hole. Pin 4 is fine, pin 5, see how the trace doesn't connect to the top. Pin 6 is fine, pin 7 is fine, 8's fine, 9's fine, and 10 we're not using. So I got a couple other I got to mess with. And then if you come over here to these two, I don't know if I can without dropping it. So on the top one, pin 1's fine, pin 2's fine, 3's fine, 4 is broken on the top, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are fine. And on the bottom one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are fine. So I've got 3 that are screwed up. So what I'm going to do is write them down, just so I can give them extra attention. And then we'll go from there. SRC 1, 3, and 5. Okay, so I've got 3 of them there that I got to pay special attention to. So I'm going to put the new units in, and then we'll have to do jumpers on that too, unfortunately. So 3 more jumpers. We ended up with 4 total. Put a little hot glue on them to hold them in place to make sure they stay put. Nothing shorted. Everything seems cool. We're ready to put it back in the machine. Yeah, baby. Let's go see what she'll do. Look at all that. So the customer was good enough to leave the 2 bolts for the head box and the screws in the bag, so it was easy to put them back in there. And so when you put these in, most of the connectors line up where they go. There's a few tricky ones though. So there is a little jumper wire that runs from there up to this. Now that I'm not looking at the schematics, I'm looking at the actual game, that connector there for the ribbon cable was the one that they were saying goes to the widget board. So that, I guess, was what they originally were thinking of it as, basically just an external board that they could put in the game. So what it eventually became used for was another music board or a sound board. So they have the ability to do sound right here, but they soon added speech and things like that. And so they have a little external board, I guess presumably because they could update the sound, the external soundboard without having to change the MPU design. So there's that one little wire that runs from there up to there. Everything else kind of plugs in. You can kind of tell where it goes. The ribbon cables are a little bit of a thing. Okay, so the ribbon cables, there is nothing special about the red wire. It's not any different. It's just a marker so that you can tell one end from the other. So what you want to do is line the red line up with pin 1. So see how it says pin 1 right there where it's plugged in? So now you know the red line is pin 1. So whenever you plug it in up here, you just plug the red line in to where it's plugged into pin 1. So it's not, you could do it backwards. You could do the red line as 20, and as long as you plug the red line into both 20s, you're fine. It's just, it's easier to do if you plug it into number 1, and then it lets you understand that red is number 1. Same with that one. See the little 1 down there on the connector? And that's the one that runs over here to the displays. So I plugged it all in. I've got it all hooked up. I don't think I missed anything. Let's turn it on and see if she does anything. So his problem was he had switches that weren't working, or that were closing on their own, phantom switches. And then he had the display stopped working. I'll bet he had sound problems too if the if he had the wrong resistors in, but we'll see. So why is it saying factory setting? It's because of that battery holder. He took the batteries out, which is smart. Woo! I'm coughing tonight. I don't have the coof, people. Don't worry. I'm just fine. I'm going to make it through it, people. Don't worry. I already had it a long time ago, a year ago. All right, factory setting. So what do you do if it says that? Well, you open the door. Oh, look, there's lights and stuff. Let me darken it up so you can see the coolness of the machine. Look at the coolness of the machine. So factory setting, basically it wants you to push a button so that they know that the operator is at hand. All right, so see the 1D, I think that's like a setting thing, yep. So the AU is the audits. So if you go all the way through it, adjustments, eventually it should go into attract. Maybe? I don't see any attract lights. Did I not hook something up? Maybe it doesn't if the door is open. What do you think? Should I shut the door? Will that do anything? I don't like the looks of this. Did I leave something unplugged? What? What? Looks to me like none of the track bulbs are working, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Let's try going into the test. Display test. Well, if nothing else, I believe we have fixed his display. So we're partially there. Now, whatever his original problem was, it may still be there. Alright, so that's that. Sound. Alright, so the sound seems to be working. All lamps. Dead as a doornail. But did not see a bad fuse. That one looks a little sketchy. I don't know. That's for general illumination, I believe. Well, we got an issue with our lamps. I think I've got everything plugged in, right? Well, we got a little... The flipper buttons are blinking. Alright. So our lamps are out. We'll get that though. Signal lamps. Coil test. Okay, so the coils all seem to be working. Uh-oh, now I got two in there. Okay, so who knows? On the switches, we would have to play it, really. Okay, so we need to figure out why none of the playfield lights are working, or the back, well, I don't think the back box has any lights except for the flashers. Okay, so we need to figure out why none of the playfield lights are working, so we'll check that out next. Okay, so here's the power supply. schematic. As you can see, the 18 volts for the lamps. Now remember, these are all 6-volt lamps, but they are strobed, so it actually runs off 18 volts, as crazy as that sounds. But the 18 volts for the lamps comes off this connector, and it comes from this fuse, F3. And wouldn't you know it, F3 is blown. Okay, so why is F3 blowing? What could be the reasons? It could be a shorted bulb. It could be there's a little power connector in there that he's got the flipper button lights running off of. It could be something like that, right? But what I think it is this is a 4-amp fuse. It's supposed to be an 8-amp. So even though there's LEDs in there, I think they're drawing too much power. So I don't think 4 amps will cut it. So I'm going to put an 8-amp in it. Again, I don't do LEDs, so it might be common when you put LEDs in that you put a lower amp fuse in it. I don't know. And also, this is a slow blow fuse, and it's supposed to be a fast blow fuse. So I'm going to put an 8-amp fast blow back in it, and we're going to turn it on to see if that fixes it. It may simply be that the fuse is undersized. A lot of people don't understand fuses. Basically, the fuse is supposed to be the weakest link in the chain. So you've got 18 volts coming out of the power supply running all the lamps. If something screws up, it'll start drawing a whole bunch of amperage from the power supply. If there's a short, sending it straight to ground. It'll basically short to ground. If that happens, it'll blow this fuse. So it could just be that the lamps draw more than 4 amps current, and so it's a 4-amp fuse that blew it. So hopefully that's the problem. So I'm going to put the bigger one in. Now, I got to be real careful about how I say this. I'm not putting a bigger one in just for the hell of it. This is a 4. It's supposed to be an 8. If you're supposed to have an 8, you can't put a 10 in. If you put a 10 in, it'll cause all kinds of problems because your weakest link is no longer protecting anything. So if something shorts, something's going to burn up. I mean, you literally can catch wires on fire, everything else. So you don't want to go up with the fuse. You want to leave it where it is. I'm about to go up with the fuse because this one's undersized. It's not the right one. So I'm gonna put an 8 in like it's supposed to have, and we'll see if that fixes it. All right, damn thing was shooting at me. All right, so that got the lights back on. It was just underfused, which is something you don't see too often. Usually they're overfused, and you get melted wires. I'm wondering, though, since they put LEDs, did somebody purposefully put because LEDs don't draw as much juice. So I wonder if somebody purposefully did that. That's interesting. But boy, she's bright, isn't she? Okay. All right, we're going to play one game, and then I'm going to do a whole other video playing it and showing it off and all that. But we'll play one game just to test it. Okay, people, we'll play it with the lights on. Epilepsy warning. If you have epilepsy, this one might push you over the edge. Be careful. What? Oh, hell. It wants me to put money in it. Steve Ritchie, you're making it where people have to pay for it? This was done by the king of pinball, Steve Ritchie. Pretty much all of his are awesome. This was after High Speed. What else can you say? That was a little dead, wasn't it? What the hell? You gotta be careful with that one. We're looking for phantom switch closures. Oh. Where's this Jagoff kicker I've heard so much about? Whoa. Whoa. Well, that's a hell of a shot there. That one. I guess there's another one on the other side too. Whoa! I don't know. I don't know if all the switches are working or not. We may need more extensive testing. Well, she's smooth though, but wouldn't you think that from the king of flow? I died, comrade. All right, we're gonna play one more game. I'm just looking to see if there's switches that aren't working.
You can't win.
This one on the right, I don't know if it did, but it bounces around a little bit up there and doesn't do anything. But there's a couple places like in the very back where there's a rubber that there's no switch on. That one worked. I heard the call out. I think everything's working. Whoop. See, like that. It didn't do anything, but it's because it hit that back where there's no switch. Yeah, I think we're good. There it is. Yeah, this switch here might be a little touchy. Oh, there's the kicker I was wondering about. Game has nice backhand shots too. Oh. Oop. See, like all that where it didn't hit anything, I think it's just because I just hit the spots up there with no switch on it. I died, comrade. All right. It may need a full glass off, touch the switch test. But that'll be enough for tonight. This video is long in the tooth. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you, because I didn't have to do that. Out of the goodness of my heart, after all the horrible things you've said about me, I still filmed it for you. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Make sure to check out our Amazon links. If you don't know about that, down below there are links to Amazon. If you click those, you will go to Amazon. And then if you buy anything at Amazon, whether it's what I had you click or not, it gives us a tip. So like if you're going to buy a car or something, just go buy it on Amazon and click our link right before you do it, and then we'll get rich. I get a little piece of Jeff Bezos' money every time you do that. And if I keep doing that, I think I'm going to have more money than him. I'm trying. It hasn't happened yet, but I think it might get there. So we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. Thank you very, very much. And also check out our brother channel. This guy's violent. Very violent. Check out our brother channel, my brother Donnie. He's always working on something cool. Lately we have been working on a grocery store. We bought an old grocery store in downtown Jefferson, South Carolina. A little tiny building. Not a big grocery store like you're thinking. That's a supermarket. You're thinking supermarket. No, this is a grocery store, old school. So it's small, but we're fixing it up so that we can rent it out and try to help revitalize downtown. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check out those videos. It's on my brother Donnie. Whoa. Good. Boy, that's pretty cool. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to play it some more here. We're going to put the back glass on and give it a spin. But I'll film a video of it for you, so look for that soon. But I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good evening, and we will see you on the next video.